Hi everybody, this is Renee from Paramount Solutions in Orlando, Florida. We are a small privately owned psychic service. We book psychic readings by phone. We have all clairvoyant readers who work with us. Some of them are psychic mediums, some of them can use tarot cards. It just depends on what you're looking for. If you're looking for some sort of psychic or metaphysical type help, call us because we definitely have somebody who would help you. 1-800-966-2294. I wanted to talk about psychic vampires. I've wanted to talk about this for a while because it is a very important topic in how to protect yourself and how to recognize somebody who is a psychic vampire. And these are people who are actually energy takers. Psychic vampires are. They may or may not know that they're energy takers, and they may or may not know that they're a psychic vampire. However, it's very important for you to be able to judge and to see if they are a psychic vampire for the simple fact that you can help protect your own energy from their invasion. It's very important for sensitive people to be able to recognize psychic vampires, especially the earlier the better, because then you know that you can put a boundary on it and that you can definitely help yourself maintain your own energy. A psychic vampire is a very exhausting person to be around. They're usually pretty self-centered. They usually look for sensitive individuals who are very empathic and kind. And they're usually what they do is they feed off of your empathic energy and your personal attention. The more sympathy they get, the more sympathy they get from you, the more energy they get from you, and the better they feel. However, you do not necessarily feel good as the person who's actually hanging around the psychic vampire. Psychic vampires can be in your family. They can be somebody who you work with. It could be somebody, just a casual acquaintance, somebody you meet at the dog park. It could be anybody. So it's really, really important to be able to recognize a psychic vampire. Here are things that I look for to realize, and sometimes I actually don't even realize, especially when I was younger, I didn't realize that I was hanging out with a psychic vampire until later on after I had left the psychic vampire and went home. Let's say we were hanging out and then, got home and then it was gosh, I am really exhausted. And my energy needed to be cleared. And it was just, I didn't even realize that this was something that, really would happen. However, as I've gotten older, I've definitely been able to identify those people a little bit faster, and then, which is really, really important. A psychic vampire always has a problem or an issue that needs to be resolved. And usually they make a really big deal out of the problem or issue and talk about it over and over and over again. It's like their entire focus is on this problem or issue. And they can't move on from it. Even when the issue is solved, they will keep bringing up the issue again and again. So when they will just rehash it over and over again to whomever will listen. And then they feed off of anybody who gives them attention about it. Another way to recognize a psychic vampire is that the psychic vampire does not actually respect your personal space. This is the person that is a close talker. They step a little too close. You get a little creeped out because they're a little bit too close to you. And then they don't say to ignore, they seem to completely ignore that they're invading your space. They don't recognize the signs that maybe you're stepping back or your body language is uptight when they come so close. That is somebody who is probably a psychic vampire because they're trying to get as close to you as they can to get as much energy off of you as possible. They really do ignore the taking a step back, not leaning, you're not leaning into their conversation. Even sometimes when you put your hand up to stop them, they are still just really, really close. So that is one way to recognize a psychic vampire. Another way is to recognize a psychic vampire. They have a long list of friends or lovers or both that usually they have this relationship last about 4 to 6 weeks. At the 4 to 6 week point, the psychic vampire actually moves on to find somebody else, because that is when, in that 4 to 6 week part of the relationship, of any relationship really, that's kind of when you're in the euphoria zone, that you don't really see the negatives on somebody. You definitely kind of ignore a lot of the bad things because you're still in this euphoria. You're very happy. You're maybe falling in love with this person or something like that. A psychic vampire actually feeds off of that. They love that. And that 4 to 6 week point is when things kind of start getting a little rockier, and that's when they move on to somebody else, because they basically, that newness and that freshness in the relationship is so exciting for a psychic vampire. They can't control themselves. They love it so much. So, and they'll just move on. They don't think twice about going on to the next person because they're just not wired to really care that much about, they do care about the people, but they're not like really like it's all about them. They're more about getting the energy from the person. The psychic vampire is manipulative. They will play on somebody's empathy. And if you're a sensitive person, the psychic vampires definitely will seek you out. They like people who are kind and who don't have boundaries. People who maybe have a little extra time on their hands. Maybe somebody who has just been vulnerable. Maybe if you just went through a divorce, or if you just went through losing a parent. Psychic vampires actually love that time because they feed off of that energy that you have, and then they end up making it all about them, which is really, really bad. So if you are noticing that you're just when you hang out with somebody and you go home at night and you think that they talked about themselves the whole time, I really didn't get any kind of relief out of hanging out. As a matter of fact, I feel more stressed out after I hang out with this person. This person has a long list of lovers or friends that they have, they basically just move on to the next person. You really might be dealing with a psychic vampire. One of the strategies on how to deal with a psychic vampire is going to be to set boundaries with the person. Sometimes it's easier than other times. For instance, if it's somebody that you just met, they're not necessarily part of your circle or anything like that, you can definitely just kind of delete them off your friends list or not call them back. However, a lot of times it's somebody who's in your family. If it's somebody in your family, definitely setting boundaries with this person is going to be of utmost importance. And what I mean by boundaries is to make sure that, you only communicate with them during certain times, be it certain times that you are stronger than other times, which we all know that, sometimes we have emotional difficulties in our lives, but we only deal with the person when we are really, really strong emotionally. That would be a good time to deal with a psychic vampire if you have to. Another time to deal with a psychic vampire that you could probably, get away with is, a lot of times you have to deal with them at work, is to be able to maybe have a time where you have a boundary set on the amount of time that you're going to deal with them. For instance, you will call a meeting at 11:45 when lunch is at 12. It's just, you got to make sure that you have that boundary there that, it's just some way to get out of the conversation. Because sometimes you absolutely have to, in work settings, deal with people who are psychic vampires. Make sure that there is something that is going to get you off the phone or get you away from the person if they are doing that to you. A lot of times they don't mean to, I just want to say this about, a lot of times psychic vampires, they don't mean to be a vampire. They don't mean to do it to you. They're not maliciously doing this. It's definitely something that, they just automatically do it. A lot of them are narcissistic, so they really can't have the feeling of the empathy of the other person, and they do feed off of that from the other person. So if you think that you are dealing with a psychic vampire, be sure to set your boundaries, to know your limits, and to definitely stick to both of those. Boundaries and limits are going to be your friend. If you would like a reading, we would love to help you. Call us at 1-800-966-2294. Take care.